3 bone-chilling horror tales, alone in the woods at midnight, the shocking truth revealed. The moon hung low, casting eerie shadows over the forgotten path that wound through the woods like a restless serpent. There were whispers in the air, chilling tales that sent shivers down spines and made hearts race. The kind of stories that left you glancing over your shoulder, feeling eyes watching you from the darkness. They said that if you wandered into these woods alone at midnight, you might never return. Because something lurked just beyond the tree-line, something hungry for fright. Ella stood at the edge of the clearing, anxiety twisting in her stomach like a coiled spring. The trees loomed above her, their gnarled branches scratching at the sky as if clawing for escape. She couldn't shake the feeling that this place was alive, pulsing with a dark energy that whispered bizarre secrets in the rustling leaves. Once, a family hiking through these woods had vanished without a trace. They were just gone, like mist evaporating at dawn. Ella's breath hitched at the thought, the icy tendrils of fear wrapping around her throat. A twig snapped to her left. Ella spun around, her heart thundering like a war drum. She thought she saw movement, a flicker of white, maybe a ghost. Or was it just her imagination? The hairs on the back of her neck prickled, and she fought the urge to bolt. Deep down, she knew part of the legend was true. The woods were haunted by echoes of the past, whispers of those who'd met their end here. She had come searching for adventure, but now dread clawed at her chest. Then she heard it, a low, mournful howling that sent waves of dread crashing through her. It was a sound that filled her with dread, a cry that seemed to come from the very bowels of the forest. Ella's instincts screamed at her to run, but her feet felt glued to the ground, mushy and soft like wet clay. The howling grew closer, more urgent. It wrapped around her like a vice, squeezing until her breath was a mere gasp. What would she find if she ventured deeper? A lost soul? Or something darker? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Just then, the moonlight flickered behind a sudden surge of black clouds, plunging the woods into an unsettling darkness. A sharp crack echoed through the silence, splitting the thick air. Ella turned, adrenaline surging through her veins, as something massive rushed past her, just beyond her line of sight. She felt its presence heavy, menacing. Her heart raced, her mind raced even faster. What had she stumbled into? Was it hunting her? Or had she merely stumbled into its lair? In that moment, the shadows seemed to pulse, breathing around her, alive and eager. Ella's legs were no longer her own, moving as if controlled by unseen forces. She took a step forward into the void, feeling the weight of countless eyes bearing down on her. Her chest tightened, overwhelming terror coursing through her. Was there escape in sight, or only the chilling jaws of the unknown waiting to claim her? What if the woods had a story to tell, and she was about to become a part of it? Ella plunged deeper into the thicket, branches clawing at her clothes like desperate hands. She could hear it now, a violent rustle behind her, quick, almost frantic. Panic surged, and she pushed further, heart racing with each step. Was it closing in? Fear wound tightly around her throat, squeezing. Screams echoed in the back of her mind, cautioning her to flee, to escape this cursed place. As she stumbled forward, the sound of something crashing through the underbrush jolted her senses. She risked a glance behind her, and her stomach dropped. For a brief moment, she saw it, a shape, shadowy and indistinct, looming just beyond the trees. It felt alive, shifting and coiling as if testing the limits of its own form. A lumbering growl erupted from the darkness, rumbling like thunder. Ella turned and ran. Branches whipped against her skin, leaving stinging trails, but she didn't care. All that mattered was the thumping of her heart and the air rushing from her lungs. She had to get away. The ground beneath her boots grew uneven, and suddenly, she tripped over a root, sprawling onto the damp forest floor. Pain shot through her knees, but she barely felt it. She was scrambling to her feet in an instant. She wiped the dirt from her hands, her pulse thudding in her ears like an approaching storm. Where was the path? The woods twisted and turned, every direction looked the same. She needed to find a way out, something to cling to, something familiar. Panic clawed at her, urging her to keep moving, but the howling returned, closer now, echoing through the darkness. It vibrated through her bones, a raw, feral scream that ignited a primal fear she never knew existed. Then she saw a flicker of light in the distance, cutting through the enveloping shadows. Hope surged, and despite the weight of dread pressing upon her, she ran toward it. The light flickered like a candle, soft yet enticing in the oppressive gloom. Was it a campfire? A sign of life? Or was it merely another trick of the woods, luring her in for the kill? As she closed the distance, the air thickened, charged with an energy that felt alive. Kicking up dirt behind her, she burst into a clearing, her breath hitching as the light grew brighter. But what she found made her freeze in place. In the center of the clearing stood a figure, tall and cloaked, obscured in shadow yet unmistakably human. The flickering light illuminated its features just enough for Ella to make out the hollow eyes fixed on her, void of emotion. "Welcome," the figure whispered, the sound rippling like a breeze through the trees. There was a familiarity to the voice that sent ice shooting down Ella's spine. "Who are you?" she managed to gasp, her voice trembling. The figure stepped closer, revealing a glimmering pendant hanging from its neck, an intricate design that sent memories flooding back. A chill cascaded down Ella's back. That pendant, it belonged to someone she knew, someone she thought was lost forever. "Haven't you always wondered?" it droned, voice silky with an unsettling calm. "What really happened in these woods?" Ella's mind raced, realization dawning on her like a crushing wave. The stories, they were true. The echoes of the past weren't just myths. They were real, and just then, a piercing scream cut through the air, silencing her thoughts. It was a cry of terror, raw and anguished. And it was coming from behind her. Ella's heart raced anew as she spun around, fear clawing at her insides. What had she walked into? And who or what was still lurking in the shadows, waiting to pull her into the depths of the unknown? With bile rising in her throat, she turned back to the cloaked figure. Its smile was wide, knowing. Would she finally uncover the truth, or would the woods claim her too? But before she could move, the ground beneath her feet trembled, and something began to surge from the depths of the darkness, eager to claim her. What awaited Ella in that midnight horror? Ella's breath caught in her throat as the ground rolled beneath her. She scrambled back instinctively, eyes darting to the cloaked figure, only to find its hollow gaze locked on her, like a spider watching its prey. The earth quaked, and from the darkness, a writhing mass emerged, a tongue of shadow stretching out like an eager predator. "What are you?" Ella whispered, her voice barely containing the tremor of her fear. "It is the forest's will," the figure replied, stepping forward while the darkness coiled behind it, as if it were part of that haunting entity. She recognized that voice, the cadence twisting her memories like a knife. Someone long gone, someone she had missed. A wave of realization hit her, the stories her grandmother told. Tales of a cursed woodland, lost souls, and dark fates entwined with the living. It couldn't be true. It had to be some trick of the light, a game of shadows. The howling returned, vibrating against the insides of her skull. It felt closer now, like 1,000 lost spirits colliding into one anguished scream. That familiar pendant glimmered under the flickering light, illuminating something deep in Ella's mind that she wished to forget. "Do you see now?" the figure asked, its voice oozing with knowing. "They cannot escape, as you will not." Beneath her feet, the ground split, revealing a yawning chasm where the darkness pooled like an abyss. Whispers floated up, wrapping around her like a suffocating mist. They called her name, urging her to follow, to join them. "No!" she cried, her mind racing. This couldn't be the end. There had to be a choice. But the world around her began to blur, blinding flashes of memories surfacing, laughter from years ago, her grandmother's warning, friends disappearing on moonless nights, and now the realization that those shadows held more than just the forest's despair. They were alive, feeding off the fear, hungry for her spirit. Ella turned back to the cloaked figure. "What do you want from me?" "I want what you seek, truth. The path you tread leads to answers, yet it demands a price." A sickly sweet smile spread across the figure's face, and Ella's heart lurched. What truth could possibly exist that would make this suffering worth it? Suddenly, the screams rose again, echoing around her. It felt like every painful memory the woods held came rushing back. She sank to her knees, desperate to drown out the chorus of anguish. In that moment, the pendant glowed fiercely, casting shadows that danced wildly around her. The figure reached out, the warmth of its hand promising comfort yet hiding a more significant peril. "Choose, Ella. Join the echoes or forge your own fate." With fear and fury coursing through her veins, Ella pushed herself to her feet. Something stirred within her, a wild, reckless energy fueled by the memory of all those she had loved and lost. She would not yield to the darkness. "Let them go!" she screamed, grounding herself against the growing storm of grief and shadows that threatened to swallow her whole. For a heartbeat, everything stilled. The figure blinked, surprise etching its features. And in that silence, Ella felt it, a flicker of hope piercing the void. Whatever lay before her could not be faced alone. She had to confront her past. The shadows writhed, enraged, as whispers turned to howls, swirling around her, determined to drag her into their chaos. But she stood firm, heart pounding, eyes narrowed, ready to fight against her destiny. Then came a flash of lightning that illuminated the entire canopy, revealing things she could not unsee. Secrets unveiled, and among them a glimpse of a boy she thought lost. With a scream for him hanging in the air, she braced herself. The truth was close, but what price would she pay to know it? What hidden truths would emerge next, and would Ella find the strength to sever the chains binding her to the darkness? The shadows flared around Ella, twisting like serpents hungry for another victim. Panic gripped her chest, twisting tighter and tighter, suffocating her resolve. The glimpse of the boy, a fleeting vision that felt like a lifeline and a curse, lingered in her mind, his face flickering like a candle flame in a storm. Could it really be him? With each heartbeat, the whispers began to crescendo, taunting her, "You're too late, Ella. He is lost just like the others." "No." The word burst from her lips, raw and fierce. She took a step forward, rallying the remnants of her courage. The darkness swirled, hissed, and for a moment, she could feel its icy breath on her skin, urging her to submit. The forest was alive, its very essence throbbing with dread. But she wouldn't give in. "What price?" she demanded, forcing the words past the lump in her throat. "What do you want to know?" The figure tilted its head, its smile now a gaping maw of shadows. "Every secret carries a burden, sweet Ella. If you seek the truth, you must confront your darkest fears." As its voice rolled over her, Ella's mind swirled with images of childhood betrayals, moments of shame, and swirling guilt. The times she had failed to protect those she loved. The boy's laugh mingled with the echo of a memory, his warm presence hovering just out of reach, his eyes filled with trust that she had dashed when she turned away. "Face it." The cloaked figure's voice thundered, crackling like the energy in the air. "Only then will you be free." A jolt ran through her, she was standing in a tempest of emotions, thrust into a vortex of shadows and memories threatening to drown her. Yet, underneath it all, she caught a glimmer of fire, the pure desire to unearth the truth, to rip apart the facade that held her captive. Without glancing back, she stepped toward the gaping abyss. "I want to know. Show me." Her voice rang out against the howling winds, fierce and unwavering. The darkness surged, wrapping around her like a snake, tightening its grip, pulling her closer and closer to the void. Then, she felt the warmth of the pendant against her chest, pulsing rhythmically, as if urging her onward. In an instant, she felt herself falling. The ground fell away, and she plummeted into the dark, a dizzying rush of air and sound surrounding her. She landed hard, gasping, her hands digging into the earth. It wasn't too dark here. It was eerily bright, a stark contrast to the shadows above. She was in a glade surrounded by trees, their branches dancing gently as if mocking her. The air was thick, heavy with something unspeakable. And there in the center, a circle of stones held what looked like a mirror, its surface swirling with hues of deep green and silver. As she approached, a familiar voice echoed around her, a voice she thought she lost forever. Ella, her heart raced. The boy stood before her, his silhouette glowing faintly. You need to wake up. They're waiting. Tears blurred her vision as she reached out to clear the distance. I thought you were gone. I thought I lost you. Not gone, trapped. He looked towards the mirror, his eyes dark and pleading. But the truth, it holds a cost, Ella. You have to be ready to pay it. Before she could respond, the shadows coiled around, rising from the ground toward her, feeding off her fear, demanding her to turn back. From deep within, the whispers grew louder, pulling her towards a truth she both craved and dreaded. Make your choice. Step into the light or consume what life remains within that mirror. Her breath quickened. What part of her was she willing to sacrifice for the sake of those she loved? Would she even recognize herself on the other side? Ella hesitated, fear gripping her, and then she whispered, "What if I don't know how?" Suddenly the air crackled with energy, the boy's form flickering like a dying flame. You must trust yourself. Let go or stay forever lost. Was she ready to face the haunting truth? Just ahead, the mirror shimmered, revealing glimpses of past choices and futures yet to unfold, a kaleidoscope of possibilities intertwined with despair. With her heart in her throat, Ella stepped closer, demanding the truth, not just for herself, but for them all. But as she reached the edge, everything shattered, light, darkness, and hope colliding with a blinding flash. Where would Ella land next, and would she emerge whole or fractured? The unfolding revelations awaited her, and the shadows were still hungry. The blinding light swallowed her whole, leaving no remnants of the glade or the boy. For a heartbeat, Ella floated in a void, an infinite nothingness that pulsated with an eerie silence. Then, the world folded back into view, a dim chamber, rough stone walls echoing with dampness and despair. She was trapped. Panic clawed at her throat, stealing her breaths. The air felt thick, almost viscous, as if it held whispered secrets. Shadows clung to the corners, dark and oppressive, making her heart race with a primal urge to flee. Yet there was nowhere to run. A flicker of movement stole her attention. Against the rough wall, a lantern flickered to life, casting an orange glow that danced ever so slightly. The warmth was inviting, yet a dread settled in her gut as she moved closer, its glow illuminating the small space. There, on the ground, lay the remnants of what had once been a journal. The pages were frayed, covered in smudged ink, words inked in desperation. She crouched down, her fingers trembling as she brushed aside the dust that had settled over it. Each word felt like a plea, a cry for redemption. I didn't mean to hurt him. I didn't know. The ink bled in places, as if the writer's tears had seeped into the parchment, adding to the pain preserved with each stroke. Names were scribbled, some familiar, others foreign. The resonance sent shivers down her spine. Who are you? The whisper escaped her lips, but only silence answered. Ella's heart thundered as she flipped through the pages. With each phrase, a colder truth unfurled, an account of darkness rooted in betrayal, sorrow, and horrific choices. The pages sucked her deeper into a tangled web of fates intertwined, where every detail hinted at unthinkable consequences. Suddenly, a memory surged within her, unasked and unwanted. A laughter bright and sweet, reminding her of the boy. The essence of joy now turned to ash as she recalled how he had looked at her, eyes wide in trust, before everything had unraveled. A wrenching agony knotted her stomach as she pressed the journal closer, its weight anchoring her in the reality of what had transpired. Ella, his voice echoed in her mind, pulling her. It felt like a warning, a voice from the other side demanding acknowledgement. But before she could process further, the walls around her began to quake. The shadows stirred, morphing into grotesque shapes. A cacophony of distorted whispers swelled, speaking in sync like an angry tide threatening to drag her under, each voice drowning the last. You cannot escape the truth. You must face it. With a scream that echoed in the chamber, Ella stood, clenching the journal tighter, her fear morphing into defiance. No. I want to be a prisoner of my past. I will not let it claim me. The shadows recoiled, as if her fire burned them, but only for a moment. They pulsed and swelled, erupting into a monstrous figure forged from sorrow and anguish. It stretched its arms wide, blocking her escape, whispering her name like a curse. Feed me your fears, Ella. Give in, and you will no longer be lost. Everything she had fought against threatened to ensnare her memories, guilt, dread. She felt her resolve teetering on the edge of darkness, heart racing, mind fracturing. Make your choice, the entity hissed, its voice a haunting undertone that filled the room. Ella's vision blurred, uncertainty squeezed her throat, suffocating her spirit. But then she remembered the boy, the promise she made to protect him, to see him freed from this darkness. That flicker of hope ignited a fire within her, burning away the tendrils of despair. The truth wasn't to be feared, it was the key to breaking free. Enough. She shouted, a blazing conviction pouring from her heart. I'm ready to face whatever it takes. And as those words left her lips, the dark figure lunged toward her, leaving her with a moment to decide would she embrace the truth, or be consumed by shadows once more. The answer teetered on the brink, waiting to be discovered, a shrouded path unfolding before her. As the entity closed in, Ella braced herself, heart pounding as questions of survival echoed loudly in her mind. What haunted truth awaited her? Would she be swallowed by her fears or emerge powerful on the other side? The shadows writhed in anticipation, their hunger palpable. Ella's resolve flickered like the dying light of the lantern, the dark figure closing in, its shadow stretching and warping with an almost sentient hunger. She took a step back, the journal still clutched in her hand, its weight anchoring her to the reality unraveling around her. Breathless, she squeezed her eyes shut, collecting the fragmented thoughts swirling in her mind. Face it, she whispered, gathering her courage. I choose the truth. With that declaration, a surge of warmth erupted within her, radiating outwards as the entity lunged. The air crackled, and the shadows morphed around her, but instead of the suffocating weight of despair, she felt a rush of clarity that cut through the darkness like a sword. The room brightened, the haunting whispers shifting into more coherent words, desperate and pleading. Ella, don't abandon us, don't forget. The voices lined up, a chorus of regret swirling around her. With a fierce breath, she opened her eyes and faced the creature. Its twisted features reverted to something less monstrous but still grotesque, a reflection of her deepest fears, guilt, disloyalty, the pain of unresolved choices. You are made of my pain, she said, finding strength in her voice. But you will not control me. The figure hesitated, the shadows pulling away from its outline, revealing glimpses of other faces within it, faces she recognized from the journal. Friends, family, all looking back at her with sorrowful eyes. You know what you must do, the creature echoed, its voice tinged with a mix of anger and sadness. You cannot turn back now. But Ella stood taller, fueled by an understanding greater than fear. No. I cannot be shackled to moments that no longer define me. As she spoke, the figure recoiled, darkness swirling in a storm around her. The journal trembled in her hands, pages fluttering as if alive. The energy around her coalesced, and from the journal's depths, an image broke free, a flash of light, a memory crystallizing before her eyes. The boy, his laughter bright and innocent, darted through a sun-drenched field. She saw his face, felt the joy it once brought her. It was fleeting, but rich with warmth. You'll always protect me, right, Ella? He grinned, untainted by dread or darkness. Tears stung Ella's eyes. Always. In response, the monstrous figure writhed, its features twisting into agony. The past is unrelenting. You cannot escape. Yes, I can. Ella shouted. I will not let the shadows rewrite my story any longer. With a fierce thrust, she opened the journal, sending an incandescent light radiating outward. Page after page turned, illuminating her surroundings and engulfing the entity. The storm of shadows screamed as they fought against the brilliance, the brightness washing over Ella, wrapping her in warmth. The echoing screams faded, and as the light enveloped her, the chamber began dissolving, the rough stone melting away. Just as quickly as it had appeared, the darkness evaporated like mist under the sun. And then there was silence. Ella stood in the glade once more, the grass soft beneath her feet. Panic surged momentarily as she searched for the boy, her heart hammering in her chest. Where are you? But the glade felt empty, the laughter that once danced in the air now only a distant memory. The light shimmered, casting a gentle glow, illuminating the edges of a path snaking through the trees. Determined, she took a step forward but hesitated, sensing eyes upon her. Shadows flickered at the fringes of the clearing, and as she turned, her heart froze. There, emerging from the trees, was a figure, a silhouette she had hoped never to see again. Ella, it called, voice smooth and chilling, with an undertone of something darker. You thought you could escape so easily. The revelation struck like a lightning bolt. What she had just faced was only the beginning. The truth behind her past was a labyrinth of fear and despair, and the real confrontation loomed just ahead. With her heart racing again, she tightened her grip on the journal and took a trembling breath. What waited for her on the path? Ahead? What shadows had she yet to face? The weight of her past loomed large, and the question hung thick in the air, could she handle the truth once and for all? Could she defeat the darkness reaching for her again? Ella, the voice slithered through the air, wrapped in echoes of betrayal. Did you really think you could outrun it? The figure stepped closer, its features faintly illuminated by the light that still lingered in the clearing. It was a face Ella knew all too well. Marcus, she breathed, feeling the weight of dread settle in her chest. Her mind raced with unspeakable memories rooted deep in her heart. Still clinging to that journal, I see, he mocked, a smirk playing on his lips. What do you think it'll do? Protect you from the truth? You've been spinning your web of lies for too long, Ella. No, she whispered, shaking her head, trying to deny the flood of past regrets that rushed back. I didn't run. I fought. I faced the darkness. He stepped forward, his silhouette now casting long shadows onto the ground, twisting the vibrant colors into something eerie, grotesque. Facing it? Or just shining a light on it? The truth doesn't vanish with a flash of brilliance. Ella felt her resolve tremble. The memories of that day, the very moment everything changed, flashed behind her eyes. Marcus had always been her anchor, her compass. Until he wasn't. The betrayal stung anew, and she clenched her fist around the journal, desperation coursing through her. I'm not afraid of you, Marcus. I won't to let you hold me down anymore. His laughter rang hollow, chilling her blood. Brave words. But you know the truth always finds a way to claw back. Are you ready to face what lies beneath your bravado? She could practically feel the shadows around them pulse with dark laughter, circling like wolves. What do you want, Marcus? Ella challenged, heart pounding. Have you come to torment me? Torment? He tilted his head, feigning innocence. I'm here to help you unravel the truth, Ella. There's a reason you're haunted by your past. There's a reason the shadows are drawn to you. Ella swallowed hard. His words dripped with honeyed deceit, and every instinct told her to turn away, to run. But something held her fast. Fear mingled with a flicker of hope that perhaps this was the moment she defined clarity, the truth behind their shared history. Who are you really? She demanded, stepping towards him, daring to look deeper into his eyes. Are you the boy I once loved or the ghost of my deepest regrets? Yes, he answered, voice a chilling harmony of warmth and anguish. I am both, Ella. A boy lost in the woods of memory and a reminder of your failures. Look around. These woods don't forget just like you. The trees whispered secrets, their branches clawing at the sky, shadows flickering, alive with energy. Ella felt the journal's warmth pulse in her hands, urging her to open it, to uncover whatever her heart tried desperately to bury. But Marcus's voice, hauntingly familiar, brought her back. If you dare to know the truth, he continued, stepping closer. You must face the moment you turned your back. The moment you abandoned me. Her breath caught in her throat. No, no, it was too much. The anguish of guilt enveloped her like a thick fog. I never wanted to leave you. She cried out. I didn't. Then let us revisit that moment together, he interrupted, his eyes darkening. The shadows swirled, and the glade around her shifted, morphing into something darker, more sinister. Before she could react, the world turned, and time unraveled. She stood on the edge of a memory. A sunny day turned stormy, a fight, words screaming in silence, and Marcus's figure slowly fading into darkness. What if you could change it? What if you could grasp a different ending? He taunted, his silhouette twisted, impossibly familiar yet terrifyingly foreign. Ella felt her heart race, fear coursing, uncertainty roiling, the weight of betrayal pulling her down. Could she bear to dive back? To confront what she had repressed? Choose, Ella, Marcus said, his voice echoing through the void as she stared at the fading memory. Do you dare to rewrite your story, or will you let the darkness claim you once and for all? Her finger hovered over the journal, the air electric, filled with dread and possibility. At that moment, the shadows thickened, the tension in the air became almost tangible. Ella realized she stood on the precipice of her own destiny. Could she really reforge the chains of her past? And would she have the strength to face the truth she had buried so deep all these years? The moment came crashing down around her like a wave. Which path would she take? The answer loomed ahead, greater than the shadows or the specter of failure. It was a choice that could unleash every hidden terror or finally set her free. Would she rewrite the past or fall prey to the very darkness she sought to escape? The answer hung in the air like a storm about to break. Ella's world spun in chaotic hues, blistering light, cascading shadows, memories crashing against her like a relentless tide. The air thickened, buzzing with unspoken words, fragments of regrets mixing into one horrible reality. She stood at the edge of something vast and murky, her heart pounding like a drum in a war. Ella, Marcus's voice cut through the haze once more, sharper this time, reverberating in the space between them. You must decide now. Your truth awaits, but you will face the consequences. Her fingers tingled against the journal's cover, a tether to a life she both cherished and loathed. Hadn't she spent years hoarding its words, crafting her own narrative? But as dread clawed at her insides, uncertainty seeped in. What if touching it brings the darkness back? She thought, the ache in her chest reaching deeper. The idea of revisiting her greatest failures paralyzed her. Stop stalling, Ella. Marcus snapped, his voice pushing through her indecision. Those pages hold the key. The moment you erased my existence, you sealed your fate. Images flashed, sunny days smiling beside him, laughter echoing in clarity, then morphing into shadows of accusations and unspoken tension. The fight was a tempest, words slinging back and forth, each one a cruel twist of the knife. The final betrayal loomed behind her eyelids, painful and burning, yet Marcus's presence felt unnervingly magnetic. I never meant to hurt, she breathed, searching his gaze for the boy she loved, but finding nothing but an echo of pain. Your intentions don't matter. All that matters is the choice you make now. Either redeem what you lost or accept the shadows as your fate, he murmured, the tension taut around them, binding her to the place where they were forever suspended. The ground beneath her tremored, a low pulse like a heartbeat. The trees leaned closer, their whispers urging her on, stealing her resolve. She was a child again, standing before the abyss, paralyzed by the unknown. To rewrite, to change it all, what would that mean? Suddenly, the world twisted again, darkness blooming out from every crack. Ella gasped as she was hurled into the moment her life veered out of the light. The fight replayed in swirling energy, a collage of anger and sorrow, and she was in the middle, heart racing for truth. "Stop it!" she screamed, but the shadows continued to dance around her, weaving seams of memory with threads of pain. "Do you see?" Marcus's voice echoed, laced with both cruelty and sorrow. "This is your truth. Stand in it. Fight or flee." Tears blurred her vision as they flowed down her cheeks, mingling with the darkness swirling around like a whisper. The journal pulsed in her hands, almost alive with power. Each secret it contained could either liberate or imprison her. Time stretched, a taut wire about to snap, as the memory reached its apex the moment everything crumbled. She could feel the weight of her choices pressing down, the truths she buried waiting to be unearthed. "Choose, Ella." Marcus's tone held an edge, his figure slowly blurring into the blackness surrounding them. "What will it be? Rewrite the story, or embrace the very shadows that haunt you?" Her mind raced, every heartbeat an echo of fear. Would she erase a piece of herself, lose what remained of the love she once felt? Or could she step forward, brave the wild chaos of her heart and risk it all? As the darkness surged and the faint glow of her memories flickered like dying embers, Ella felt the weight of the moment crashing down upon her. "What if," she thought desperately, "I'm not ready for this?" But even as the thought slipped through her mind, she sensed an awakening, a burgeoning fire sparked by the recognition of her choice. Just then, a shriek sliced through the air. A voice, distorted, screamed out from within the shadows, as a new figure began to emerge, blurring the boundary between past and present. And in that instant of impending revelation, Ella's heart raced with terror and anticipation. Who was this figure, and what part did they play in her haunting memories? The shadows tightened around her as the ground beneath trembled, forcing her to confront a truth yet unseen. The moment had come to face whatever she dreaded most. Would she have the courage to confront yet another specter of her past? Ella's breath caught in her throat as the figure emerged from the swirling darkness. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, but she was rooted in place, frozen by the terror that gnawed at her core. The air crackled with tension, each heartbeat an ominous drum signaling an inevitable clash. As the figure stepped into the dim light, a wave of recognition washed over her. It was Sarah, her childhood friend, the one who had vanished years ago without a trace. Ella blinked, desperately trying to comprehend how Sarah could be here, in this haunted moment between memories and shadows. Sarah's voice was a brittle whisper, laced with sorrow. "You forgot me. You cast me away, just like you did with Marcus." The accusation hung in the air, the truth like barbed wire cutting at Ella's heart. "I didn't forget," Ella shouted, the anguish spilling over. "You left me. You were gone, and you moved on," Sarah interrupted, stepping closer. Her eyes were pools of darkness, reflecting pain and betrayal. "You became someone else, didn't you? Someone who can hide from the past." The shadows flickered, twisting like living things around them, feeding off the despair between the two girls. Ella felt the darkness wrapping its icy fingers around her, reminding her of every failure, every lost moment. Was Sarah a specter, or simply a cruel reminder of her own choices? "Why did you come back now?" Ella quivered, each word shaking with uncertainty. "What do you want from me?" Sarah smiled, but it was devoid of warmth. "I come for your truth, Ella. Just as Marcus did. You buried me deep, but I'm here to remind you of what you tried to erase. What if you could have saved us both?" The accusation struck a chord deep within Ella. Memories clawed to life, laughter in the golden sun, two girls whispering secrets under starlit skies, and that dreadful day when everything fell apart. The lies, the panic, the search that led to nothing. It felt like a door she had slammed shut, but now it creaked ominously on its hinges. "What happened to you?" she asked, her voice breaking under the weight of guilt. The memory festered like an open wound, refusing to heal. "I became one with the whispers," Sarah said, her tone softening. "But you can still change it. Rewrite your story, Ella. Face the shadows that haunt you, or let them consume you. You have a choice. Ella's heart raced as her mind whirlpooled in confusion. Could she really rewrite the past? The thought spiraled: if she opened the journal, if she grasped those swirling tendrils of memory and fate, might Sarah's fate change as well? The ground beneath her shifted once more, pulling her precariously toward the edge of the abyss beckoning from the depths. Panic surged through her veins. Was she ready for the consequences? Faced with two ghosts of her past, each with claims to her shattered heart, the weight of their demands bore down. Choose, Ella. Marcus's voice thundered from the shadows, merging with Sarah's. Will you lean into the pain or flee into oblivion? Fingers trembling, Ella grasped the journal tighter, feeling the pulse of forgotten lives beating within. She stood at a crossroads, teetering between regret and salvation. Could she accept the truth that lay there? But as she prepared to make her choice, the shadows began to writhe, growing more chaotic, the air thick with tension. A deep rumble echoed from within the void, a sound that promised chaos, and suddenly, without warning, the ground beneath her quaked violently, as if all her fears, memories, and choices clashed in a cataclysmic crescendo. Ella screamed, the world around her dissolving into a whirlpool of color and darkness. Would she find the strength to confront the shadows, or would she be swallowed whole, lost among the echoes of her past? The answer loomed large as she spiraled down into the chaos, a choice lingering in the air. As the end seemed near, one question remained: what terrifying truth awaited her if she dared to embrace the shadows? Ella fell through the chaos, spinning through the dark like a leaf in a storm. The screams of her past howled around her, merging into an unholy symphony of despair and longing. Bright flashes of memory pierced through the void faces of those she loved, those she had betrayed, all entwined in shadows. They beckoned her, each ghost representing untold pain and heartache. As the ground solidified beneath her, Ella staggered forward, her surroundings shifting to reveal a dimly lit room, crumbling stone walls encased in a thick fog. She gasped, breath catching in her throat. How could this be? Memories flooded back: Sarah's voice, the fight, the pain. The air felt electrified with regret, and all too familiar darkness crept in along the edges of her vision. In this old chamber, she faced something she never expected: a rift between the past and a reality waiting for her. Face it, Ella, Sarah whispered, her silhouette shimmering in the mist. You can't keep running. The weight of those words pressed heavily on her chest. She remembered that fateful day: the anger, the betrayal, the moment she'd allowed fear to turn her back on her friend. You left. Ella shouted, fury and sorrow crashing together like waves. I wanted you to come back, Sarah's voice trembled, but you didn't. You moved on, just like you did with Marcus. Ella's heart twisted painfully as Marcus stepped forward, eyes aflame with the brilliance of the truth. You think ignoring us, burying what happened, would make the pain go away? It only amplifies it. Tears streamed down Ella's face as she struggled against the currents of their pain. I thought if I let go, I could be free. Free from us. Marcus shot back, his voice echoing like thunder. You cannot escape your truth, Ella. If you want to change anything, you need to face it. The shadows closed in, their grinding chatter intensifying until it thrummed in her ears. Ella's heart raced, fists clenched around the journal as desperation surged within her. She had to do something, anything, to uproot the darkness devouring her memories. Let us end this. Ella shouted, her voice firm against the encroaching shadows. She hurled the journal before her, the pages fluttering open, unleashing the tempest of memories held within. The memories wrapped around her tightly, swirling like autumn leaves caught in a ferocious gust. Rushing past her, translucent memories ignited lives long extinguished: the laughter of friends, the joy of simpler times. The ache of loss cracked open like a raw wound, causing Ella to stagger. Could any of this be rewritten? Amid the spiraling images, a flash caught her eye: the heart of her remembered friendship with Sarah. In vibrant hues, they would play and dream. We had each other. She cried, desperation pouring through her like a river. I won't forget again. Then remember. Sarah's voice rang resolute. Remember all of it. Embrace the pain, let it free you. Ella closed her eyes, facing the tempest within her. Her heart pounded, but in that heartbeat, clarity dawned. Pain was not her enemy, it was a bridge leading her to healing. With renewed conviction, she stepped into the whirlwind, allowing those buried memories to wash over her every moment, every decision. Her struggles and triumphs mingled as one. The shadows recoiled, screams morphing into whispers of understanding. Ella felt the sway of their inherent sorrow but also their yearning for release. I see you. She shouted through tears. I acknowledge what I've lost. The energy around her shifted momentously, light breaking through, illuminating the darkness, each beam growing brighter as shadows shrank. In surrendering to the pain, she claimed her truth. The ghosts, once hungrily consuming her spirit, faded like fog, revealed as lost echoes seeking absolution. I'm sorry. She screamed into the void. For all my choices, for running away. In their absence, something new began to emerge. A warmth enveloped her, memories shifted from chains of regret to flowers of hope blooming within her heart. Every painful choice morphed into lessons, each hinting at redemption. As the last remnants of darkness fell from her vision, a path opened before her. Sarah's voice was soft, now filled with compassion. You've done it. You found your truth. Ella inhaled deeply, the weight of guilt dissipating into the air. For the first time, she felt truly free. Thank you, Sarah, for everything. There is always a choice, Marcus added with newfound grace. You embraced yours. Now go forward. Ella stepped onto the path, the forest alive with gentle sounds of nature, whispers of liberation coursing through the trees. She glanced back only once, seeing the remnants of darkness curl away into nothingness. With a final breath of relief, she turned, heart swelled with understanding. She would carry the love of her lost friends and the weight of their memories, but she would no longer let them drown her. Each step felt lighter, her soul untangled from the shadows, ready to meet the dawn of her new life. As daylight broke over the horizon, illuminating the woods, Ella began her journey. Not just through the forest, but through life at peace with the truth, ready to embrace every new chapter ahead, and just like that, Ella reclaimed her story. You need to subscribe now and dive into more exclusive stories with us. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and make it possible for more thrilling tales like Ella's. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this wild ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us build this amazing community together.